Welcome back, and moving on to our first segment for today. Well, as we were talking about the pivotal role played by Egypt in the region, especially when it comes to the tensions and restoring stability in the whole region with the Arab countries. Over the phone, we have Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Doctor. So first of all, I would like to ask about, so far, how do you see the role Egypt is playing, whether we're talking on the political or diplomatic levels, when it comes to all the conflicts taking place, of course, talking about Palestinian cause, including all the tensions taking place in the region?
Yes, of course, Egypt's role is very known for all fair-minded people all over the world. Egypt has already played a great role for pertaining and for pertaining the Palestinian people, for encouraging them to establish their own state. Egypt went through diplomatic peace process with Israel, established the Camp David Accord. All this history is very there to explain what is the role of Egypt. The role is to build the peace in the area, to build a sustainable development, to call for two-state solution for the Arab-Israeli conflict. And I think that lately Egypt's role is very clear, that no for displacement of the Palestinians, no for finishing off all the issue or the cause of the Palestinians to establish their own state. I think the president has already clarified that, and the diplomatic apparatus in Egypt conducted several conferences, many conferences with the European Union and with the Arab world, and I think that it's very clear that Egypt is against this genocidal war in Palestine. Israel must stop this war. These are all elements that all the efforts of the diplomatic efforts by Egypt is very clear for everyone. So Egypt's role is very clear.
So what makes Egypt uniquely positioned to mediate in Arab conflicts in general compared to other regional powers?
Of course, having established this unique treaty between Egypt and Israel by the presence of very fair-minded mediator at that time, President Carter played a win-win situation where the agreement was already there for several decades now, and through several Egyptian presidents also. Egypt keeps this treaty and wants to establish peace with stability for everyone. So I think Egypt has a unique position to play, a position role to continue, and I think that without Egypt in this area, the whole thing would be chaos and disruption for everyone.
So we can say that Egypt's historical leadership in the Arab League and a strategic geographic position influenced its diplomatic leverage as well?
Of course. Egypt already have done several things that really the entire world should be aware of when it comes to negotiation and win-win negotiation, and even when there was something was hanging in the air, we went through Taba arbitration. I mean, the whole thing is a very good lesson for the entire area and for the entire world to see how Egyptians, with their potentials, really established something that is unique in a world of zero-sum games. And I think that these zero-sum games will get the whole world nowhere. So I think Egypt is carrying out a torch that lighten up for everyone the road where people should go for in the area and outside this area worldwide.
Egypt also has been a key mediator between Palestinian factions. So Tell us how effective has Egypt's mediation been over the years, especially after the recent Gaza conflict?
Yes, Egypt already got all communication channels open, and they communicated with the Palestinian authorities and with Hamas and with Palestinian factions. And history recorded that there are so many meetings regarding this issue. And also, one of the most important things is that Egypt is playing a mediator. But the Palestinians also, Egypt urged the Palestinians to work on themselves and they unify their front. Because having been separated like that will impact their negotiating stance, of course. So to the very last minute, Egypt is calling for a unified Palestinian front with different roles, with looking at the entire situation and be realistic in what is happening. When it comes to negotiation, they have to be realistic. So I think that Egypt is urging them for that direction, and I think that Egypt is also confirming the two-state solution very strongly, and with the help of Palestinians, this could be achieved. But with the separation of the Palestinian people, also this is an obstacle.
Well, I think also when it comes to Egypt, the point is that Egypt was able to achieve balance between its relations and commitment to the Palestinian rights and sovereignty also was not that easy.
Yes, of course. And I think that we have, in Egypt, we have been exhausting all possible avenues for de-escalating situations and for getting the things to move in the right direction. And I think the conference that will be held in New York, Egypt is participating also in that meeting. And I think that meeting is very important too, because when it comes to palpable moves, this is one of the palpable moves to help breaking the siege, getting the humanitarian area, saving the Palestinian people. I think that Egypt is exhausting all possible avenues in all directions. This is why Egypt opted to participate in the conference in the United Nations led by France and Saudi Arabia. And this conference is extremely important because it will assign roles for each country. And under the umbrella of the United Nations, it should be an action-oriented. Because as you have seen, people would like to demonstrate, people would like to express their anger. But I mean, that is very good. Okay, go ahead. This is very human impulse. It's very natural to see all these genocidal wars and stuff like that. Yes, people can get angry and people would like to express themselves. But Egypt is keen to have something very palpable on the ground. So action-oriented, not emotion-oriented. And this is why Egypt will go also for the conference in the United Nations to be held this month under the umbrella of the United Nations.
So can we speak also on the significance of Egypt's efforts when it comes to the opening humanitarian corridors and the role in managing the Rafah border crossing?
Yes, when it comes to managing the Rafah border crossing, I think Egypt has already organized many visits for head of states. Macron was there and have seen everything by his very own eyes. And he felt like things should move in the right direction. And what's happening is very wrongful track. And the whole thing the war should stop first. And then diplomatic means could find its way through. And that's on the level of president and secretary, but also the general Secretary of the United Nations visited also that place. There were also demonstrations arranged by taking all these diplomatic procedures, legal procedures, sovereignty procedures, and I think that happened. I think reiterating that, I think it is good, but we need more action-oriented rather than emotion-oriented.
Well, recently, Egypt's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also issued a statement regarding regulations for visiting the border area adjacent to the Gaza Strip. As we can see, this is, of course, of great importance, especially that now all around the borders of Egypt, we have tensions, we have challenges that we are facing, and of course, national security is on the top of the priority.
Yes, of course, national sovereignty in every country is very important. So how about an inflammatory borders? No, we don't want to add something to these inflammations. But again, Egypt is very keen to contain all the brothers and sisters who really want to express the idea that they are against the genocide, they are against the siege, the siege that's being there in Palestine. This siege must be broken, yes, of course, but by agreements, by diplomatic means, not by demonstration that could turn out to be going in the wrong direction. And I think rationality should reign. Rationality is the most important thing. Action-oriented should be there, but doing things that's based on emotions only really got the whole, got any cause anywhere, and it will never solve the problem. So we need to have emotional intelligence and action orientation, and this is the direction of Egypt. Despite the fact that the situation is very difficult, despite the situation is very thorny, despite that Egypt is really agreeing with the spirit of the people to express themselves. Of course, we are flesh and blood. Nobody in the entire world, no fair-minded human being in the entire world would see this genocide and this torture that the Palestinians are being exposed to and will be silent. Of course, no. Of course, everything has an end. So I hope that will end peacefully and with diplomatic means and with rationality.
Well, we can see also Egypt played a vital role in brokering ceasefires in Gaza. So can we ask about what diplomatic tools does Egypt use to build this consensus and trust in such complex negotiations?
Yes, Egypt is opening the channels with all international powers, and Egypt is urging the international powers to exert more efforts and more action. Action is needed because this has gone too much. The situation is terrible over there, and I think the entire international community should do something action-oriented. And also, the Egyptian leadership also have a strategic relationship with the United States. The United States played a strategic role during Carter area, and I think Egyptians really feel good about this era where we were able to reach a very win-win situation. So Egypt is also, and the Egyptians urging the American leadership to exert much better role to get the parties there into the diplomatic track and into de-escalation and into peaceful settlement as it did a long time ago.
So what role does Egypt envision in a potential long-term resolution of the Palestinian issue?
Yes, of course, truth will never be the solution because truth ends and the whole thing erupts again. We have seen this eruption taking place several times after peaceful, temporal peaceful settlements. No, the situation needs a permanent solution, and Egypt is working with Arab brothers and with international powers to put a stop to this war, stupid war that's taking place, and again for permanent solution, not for temporary solution.
So what more can Egypt do in this respect, whether we're talking regionally or internationally, to push for a just and lasting peace in the Middle East?
Of course, Egypt is exerting all it can do, protecting its sovereignty, protecting its dignity, but again, working very hard on de-escalating in the area, as we have seen through different modalities and different procedures and different conferences. The Egyptian diplomatic apparatus is working day and night in that direction, and I think that much more compounded and complicated diplomacy needs to be exerted, and Egypt is going for that because the end of wars, the end of those people who really does not rational enough and think that they can impose their existence by zero-sum game. This is a self-defeating strategy for the Israelis, because they are supposed to be neighbors, they are supposed to live. They wanted to live in peace. I don't think that what's happening would help in that direction. So Egypt is doing its part. There is a famous lyric saying, "I played my part, you played no role. You gave peace a bad role, a bad name." I don't want this to happen. I hope that Egypt's spirit is above that, and Egypt is exerting its role despite the opposition role being played against the Egyptian role.
Right.
So hopefully Egypt is very consistent in its orientation, and it will continue to be exerting all these efforts.
Dr. Hassan Wagih, a professor of political science, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll be going to a quick break, then we'll be back.
موطني